Hello and welcome to DNQ Football, where today we'll be casting our eye over the OFC Olympic qualification final. The winner of this game basically represents the OFC as a region at the Summer Olympic Games in 2024. This tournament, which has been held in Auckland, is where the final is going to be at the North Harbour Stadium. Attendance has been a couple of hundred at most games, although for the Solomon Islands Fiji game, apparently the attendance went over 1,000, which is good to see, and hopefully we'll see the same in this final clash between the two best teams in the tournament. Of course, don't forget this tournament played by the under-23s of the nation, so it's important to take that into account when you look at the results that have come in and some of the score lines. Of course, you'd expect New Zealand, who are in the final, to be the most dominant team, as they are historically in this region. But Fiji have done particularly well to get there as well. And if you look back over all of the Olympic qualifications that this region has ever held, only two sides have ever won it. New Zealand, of course, most often, as since football has become part of the Olympics. But also, important to say, Fiji have won it as well, which is just something to note. Will history repeat itself? Well, it's going to be a challenge, isn't it, for Fiji? They've played each other, these two sides, in the group stages, both sides coming from Group A. New Zealand began life in this group with a walkover against Papua New Guinea, who were unable to play, so a 3-0 win for them. Then the two finalists met. It was 3-1 to New Zealand in that game, and then Fiji beat Papua New Guinea 2-0. Meaning that both sides progressed first and second in the group stages. Of course, this was also the group where American Samoa were due to play, but unfortunately had to drop out as well. So these two sides, particularly New Zealand, not playing that many games. In fact, New Zealand only playing one game before they found themselves in the semi-final against Vanuatu, but a game they cantered through at ease, winning 8-0 in that game. A truly sensational scoreline for New Zealand, but the Bula Boys did well as well against the Solomon Islands. Again, one of the most challenging fixtures to predict from our perspective is Fiji versus the Solomon Islands, and Fiji ran out 3-0 winners in the semi-final, which is just credit to them and of course their manager Rob Sherman, who used to be the technical director of the New Zealand Football Association. So it's interesting to see a player, a manager should I say, who's been in and around New Zealand a lot of the time, coming up against them in this tournament. And Sherman has already come out and said his goal, his ambition, his aim is to lead Fiji to the 2026 World Cup. Now, that's not a crazy suggestion when you consider the changes to the tournament. Of course, it's a 48-team World Cup next time out, and OFC gets 1.5 places. So if we, as we always do on the channel, assume that goes to New Zealand, Fiji, they are one of the top sides in with a chance of getting that 0.5 place, and then the playoffs are the playoffs, so they do have a chance. Now, how do I think this one will go? It's going to be tough for Fiji. I'll talk them up. Obviously, we support the underdog, always here on DNQ Football. But it's going to be particularly tough for Fiji. I think it's been a high-scoring tournament. It's quite a high-scoring region generally as well, isn't it? And I don't think the final will be dissimilar. I think that Fiji will try to learn from their mistakes defensively that they've made throughout this tournament, particularly against New Zealand. I mean, they kept 2 clean sheets other than the New Zealand game. So they'll be looking at that, they'll be studying it. But New Zealand, I mean, they've played 2. They've gone from strength to strength. Can they go to strength again? Potentially. I think we could see a similar scoreline actually. I mean, if we did, I wouldn't say that's a bad result from a Fiji perspective if this were to finish 3-1. They will be doing the best that they can, of course. I do think they'll score. I back them to score. I think it would be great to see a high-scoring game, and of course it would be great to see a Fiji win as well, unless you're a New Zealand fan. But I am going to back New Zealand for this one. So we're going to go with a similar sort of scoreline. Now, this isn't the end for this region for the year either. Of course, we have the Pacific Games coming up, and of course on the DNQ side we'll have videos coming up on how OFC qualification for the 2026 World Cup, as I've already mentioned on the channel as well. And if you're thinking, Fiji, technical directors, where have I heard this before? You can, of course, watch our interview with the Fiji technical director, Timo Jankowski, on the channel as well. Thanks for watching, and of course, we will see you next time.